So let's start off by thinking about the last time you sat down to eat in a restaurant. At the end of the day, every single kitchen on this planet is doing the exact same fundamental task. You buy raw ingredients, you apply heat, and you put it on a plate. But the internal mechanics, that underlying mindset, the sheer psychological reality of human beings standing behind the line, that right there is where the culinary industry splits into two entirely different worlds. So, welcome back, everybody, to the Chef's Ledger. I'm your host, the Chef. And first things first, I want to thank every single one of you for clocking into another shift with us today. If you rolled with us through our debut episode, you know we're here to peel back the tape, clear off the stainless steel, and look at the raw, unfiltered realities of kitchen culture. So go ahead, pull up a milk crate, flip it upside down by that back door, take a breath, and lock in. Because for episode two, we're opening the books on a classic industry debate that every single cook has an opinion on: the high altitude military precision of a Michelin starred kitchen versus the raw, unscripted survival of classic mom and pop shop. Let's get into it. So let's actually start with how these places actually operate on a structural level. Because the hierarchy of a kitchen dictates how you breathe on shift, how you move, and how you handle the psychological weight of a rush. A Michelin starred kitchen is not just a restaurant, it is a strict military unit operating on the classic French brigade system, originally adapted from the 19th century army structures. In this world, everyone has a hyper specific, razor thin lane. And if you're the poissonnier, you touch the fish. That's your entire universe for 14 hours. You don't look at pastry station, and you sure as hell don't step out of your physical bounds. And you absolutely do not question the sous chef. Every single command from the expediter at the pass is met with a quiet, uniform, immediate response. Oui, chef. There is no yelling here. The classic trope of the screaming chef doesn't really exist at the elite level anymore. Instead, the pressure is psychological, heavy, cold, and completely silent. A single misplaced chive can ruin a career, and everyone on the line knows it. You end up being a cog in a perfectly calibrated, unforgiving machine. But now, if we flip the script, let's walk down the street and step into a busy, high volume mom and pop shop on a Friday night. The hierarchy here, it isn't a monarchy, it's a flat, adaptable tribe. The roles fluidly blur based on whoever's getting slammed the hardest by the ticket machine. There's no luxury of staying in your lane. The person washing the dishes might step up to drop fries, pump out tomorrow's prep sauce, maybe even grab a delivery out the back door, all within the same 20-minute window. It's loud, it's chaotic, it's visceral, and is driven by raw, instinctual hustle rather than a strict military protocol. And you aren't answering to a system, you're answering to the immediate survival of the line. Then there's the food itself and the philosophical definition of what a quote unquote good meal actually means. In the Michelin world, the ultimate metric of success is absolute flawless consistency through repetition. If you send out 80 plates of a signature tasting menu dish a night, that 80th plate has to look, taste, and weigh identical to the very first one that left the pass at 5 p.m. Tweaking a recipe on the fly because you feel like it or because you think it needs a touch more acidity is an unforgivable, fireable sin. The food is calculated, precise, and heavily technical. We're talking about using immersion calculators, gram scales, exact plating tweezers, and measuring out components down to the millimeter. It is beautiful, it is intellectual, and it requires an elite level of technical discipline. But it is also rigid. But when you step into a mom and pop shop, success isn't measured by a ruler. It's measured by comfort, intuition, and memory. The recipe isn't printed on some laminated sheet taped to the station. It's locked in the head of whoever's been running the flat top for the last decade. If the tomatoes come off the truck are a little sweeter or more acidic this week, the cook doesn't call a corporate test kitchen. They adjust the salt and sugar by eye, by taste, and by feel. It reminds you of grandma's cooking. It has soul. Because customers don't return to a local joint to analyze the texture of a molecular gel or admire a microgreen placement. They return because they're hungry. They're exhausted for their own day jobs. And they want that exact, familiar, comforting baseline of flavor that hits them right in the chest. One is an art gallery, and the other is a fireplace. But then there's the paradox that catches a lot of people outside the food service industry completely off guard is the actual cost and economics of the grind. When the average diner sees a Michelin star and a $300 tasting menu, they automatically think dollar signs and massive profit. But outside of that blur, the reality behind the ledger is that those profit margins are infamously, heartbreakingly razor thin. The astronomical labor costs required to keep a massive staff of specialized chefs, sommeliers, and front of house professionals, paired with the cost of pristine, luxury ingredients that get thrown out if they aren't absolutely perfect, eat up almost everything that comes through that door. And the cooks on the line pay the physical price for that prestige. 14 and even 16-hour days are the baseline standard. It is a culture where line cooks routinely arrive hours before their official clock in time just to do unpaid prep work, staging, just to avoid falling behind the 8 ball before service even begins. You're trading your physical well being for a resume stamp. Now, if we look at a well run mom and pop shop, if the family owns their building and keeps the labor costs low by working the line themselves, the financial margins can actually be surprisingly healthy. It's a skeleton crew, maybe a couple of veteran line cooks, one prep cook, and a handful of servers who know the regulars. I mean, the shifts are still hard, don't get me wrong, but they generally hover around the standard 8 to 10 hours, and there's no pre shift staging for hours on end. Because the overhead is low and the menu is built for efficiency, the business can withstand economic downturns that would instantly bankrupt a fine dining establishment. Then we look at the environment of these two kitchens is ultimately dictated by who is sitting in the dining room. In a Michelin starred establishment, the guest is there for an experience. It's a bucket list event, an anniversary, or a corporate power play. They're paying for the theater, the storytelling, and for elite status. And because of that, the relationship between the kitchen and the guest is formal, curated, and detached. So, really, you aren't even cooking for a person. You're actually cooking for a critic, or a foodie, or an algorithm. The pressure is sterile, and the feedback loop is delayed until the reviews drop online and the guide gets updated. But over at that cozy little mom and pop shop, the dining room is an extension of the neighborhood. The guests aren't critics, they're regulars. They are people who come in every single Wednesday at the exact same time. The cooks in the back often know their orders before the ticket even prints out. The feedback loop is instantaneous. It's an empty plate scraped clean, a wave through the pass window, or a cold beer handed to the kitchen crew at the end of a brutal rush. So at the end of it all, the hospitality isn't scripted or rehearsed. It's genuine, it's warm, and built on years of shared community. So when we look at the ledger, what's the real difference between these two worlds? The best way I can put it is a Michelin starred kitchen is a high performance race car. It is meticulously engineered, hyper focused, and capable of extreme, breathtaking output. But it is also incredibly fragile, insanely expensive to operate, and prone to blowing up completely under the slightest human error. But when you flip the page on that ledger and look at the mom and pop shop, it is a classic pickup truck. It got some dings on the bumper, the paint is peeling, and the engine might knock a little on a freezing morning. But man, it will run forever. It carries the actual weight of the community on its back. It keeps the neighborhood fed, and it gets the job done every single day without ever needing a trophy. So I want to hear from the back of house on this one. If you've clocked hours in both of these worlds, where did you find your rhythm? Did you thrive in the cold, silent precision of the brigade? Or do you prefer the raw, loud chaos of the local line? Stand up, drop your thoughts in the comments, and let me know. And next week on the Ledger, we're exploring the secret language at the back of the house. We're going past the standard calls and breaking down the unspoken body language, the heavy silence of a crew that's locked in the exact moment a communication breakdown turns a minor delay into a catastrophic breakup line. So until then, respect the line, keep your knives sharp, put that damn milk crate back, shifts over, the ledger's closed, and I can't wait until I see everyone when I reopen it in the next episode. I'm out.